Welcome back. So the reason I got into Synthesizer V in the first place was to do backing vocals, and I haven't done a tutorial on that yet, so here it is. I recently dug up an old track of mine from back in the actual 1980s, and yeah, on tape and all the rest of it. I thought it'd be fun to dissect it and remix it. And I thought also, why don't I throw some backing vocals on? Because that's what's missing on this demo. So here we go.
Under the wing, you're afraid to fly, afraid to sing. Under the wing, you're a pretty doll on a twisted string.
I have to say, that's probably the worst performance I've gotten out of this so far. I don't think she likes singing at that range. But it's good enough because it's a backing vocal. And let's face it, well, I mean, so this is an extracted vocal from my old demo that's going to play with it. So it's a bit artifacty and a bit reverby and delay probably. So let's just run them together.
Under the wing, you're afraid to fly, afraid to sing. Under the wing, you're a pretty doll on a twisted string.
So the first thing we're going to do is actually make more versions of Solaria so that it starts to average out and give us a full sounding backing vocal, and maybe hopefully not so bored. She sounds a bit like she's ready for the session to be over, quite honestly. Anyway, so the first thing I'm going to do is duplicate that, which of course is duplicate track, and I'll give it a new color. Not that that does anything because it's still these, and so I could be working on the wrong ones. I hope Dreamtonics is watching every time I say that. Okay, so I'll select them all. And the first thing I want to do, well, if I play this, you need to hear that obviously. When you play them together now, they're exact duplicates, right? So
under the wing,
it's just louder and a little bit phasey because it's not, it's not phase locked audio. So let us just throw in a generate take. I'm going to turn the enhancement down and leave expressive on 100 on pitch. I won't bother with the timbre. I'll just do the pitch. And that should be enough so that now it'll sound a little bit more chorused.
Under the wing.
Or a lot more chorus. Let's do another one.
Under the wing. You're afraid to fly, afraid to sing.
And so one of the reasons I keep these in mono for now is because that's the best way to hear if they're phasing between each other. So obviously the better it sounds in mono, it's going to sound even better when you put it to stereo. And the next thing I like to do is actually delay the time on one of the tracks. So since that's the main, I'll call this left because I'm going to do two. So this will be left, and then the other one I do after this will be right. And in fact, I could do that right now. Let's duplicate that track. Call this one right. And another new color. Not that it means anything. And I'll generate some new takes for this one. And hopefully all three will run together.
Under the wing.
Without phasing, which sounds pretty good at the moment. What I like to do is vary the timing a little bit as well, right? Even if you're double tracking the same voice, you're never going to hit them exactly the same. So let's just work on one for the moment. Actually, what I'll do is I'll select the left channel one, and I'll select all. And just to show you, if I go up to the full offset, which is 0.1 of a second, so it's 1/10 of a second, and play it with the main vocal, it's definitely like a slapback echo.
Under the wing, you're afraid to fly.
Which we don't want. The general rule with for doubling is to try and keep it tight, like under 0.03 seconds, which is 30 milliseconds. So I'll just go right to 30 milliseconds and I'll play that with the lead vocal.
Under the wing. You're afraid to fly, afraid to sing.
Okay, that's pretty good. So now why don't I do the same to the right channel one. Select them all. But what I'll do is I'll go the other way. I'll go to -0.3. So it's moved up a little bit in front of everything by 0.3.
Under the wing, you're afraid to fly, afraid to sing.
And then I'm going to bring the extracted vocal from the old tape recording as well. Let's have a listen.
Under the wing, you're afraid to fly, afraid to sing. Under the wing, you're a pretty doll on a twisted string.
Okay, cool. We can go another step further on this. Let us just mute me and the lead vocal. And on the second vocal, this Under the Wing BV right, I'm actually going to change the vocal mode. So from, say, power to solid, I think is okay. And that way we're getting a slightly different vocal as well as being slightly timed differently and a different pitch take. Every little bit of difference helps because then it'll sound like more people as opposed to the same thing repeated, right? So let's see what that's like.
Under the wing, you're afraid to fly, afraid to sing. Under the wing.
Yeah, solid's pretty close to power. I don't want to do the other ones just yet because they are quite different. Let's try light instead.
Under the wing, you're afraid to fly, afraid to sing. Under the wing, you're.
You know what? I'm gonna do that for the main. Instead, I'm gonna change that from power to light because it is much lighter. That one's gonna stay center with my voice, and then the other two are gonna be pan left and right, so they can both be. One will be power, and the other one will be solid. They are a little different, but on first listen, they sound pretty similar. Okay, so now all three are different, and they're slightly detuned and detimed, or shifted in time.
Under the wing.
And here's a little power tip if you want to go put a little bit more human effect into it. Let's just close these. So still using the note editing here. We want to adjust the timing. So what I'm going to do here is select every other kind of word or syllable and basically change that again, right? Because it's set at minus 0.03 at the moment. So if I just randomly select a bunch of words or pieces of words, it's going to adjust them separately. So I'm going to push this back to the just off center. Maybe I'll go plus 10. So all of these that aren't highlighted are minus 0.03. And then all the ones that are highlighted are 0.010. So what's happening now is this one is slightly ahead, slightly behind, slightly ahead, slightly behind, like that throughout. So adding in the, not perfect performance factor. So let's run all of them together with my lead vocal.
Under the wing, you're afraid to fly, afraid to sing. Under the wing, you're a pretty doll on a twisted string.
Cool. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to use just the left and rights. And the first thing I will do is duplicate that one and give it a new color. Okay, so I've added the tracks to Cubase. Here's my extracted vocal, and then we got the main, the left, the right, and what you didn't see is I also created an octave up version of the left and the right, but it's the same process as I did the others. Okay, so let's just play them all together.
Under the wing, you're afraid to fly, afraid to sing. Under the wing, you're a pretty doll on a twisted string.
Okay, not bad. And what's cool is actually you can see they're all different, like notably different. The octave ups look pretty similar, but the actual other versions, that was a different voice, right? That was the kind of soft voice. And these two were passion solid and power. And so even though they all had the exact same kind of starting point, they are just different enough. They sound different enough. Actually, let's solo those. Now we have them all together.
Under the wing, you're afraid to fly, afraid to sing. Under the wing, you're a pretty doll on a twisted string.
Since we're here, let's just, I'm going to select these two, and I'm going to give them a couple of slices. And what I'm actually going to do is generate a harmony as well for each of these, because one, I'm lazy, and two, well, I'm lazy. So there you go. Audio, generate harmony. And yeah, I'm only going to generate one per voice. I think it normally generates a soprano. But what you haven't seen is that in Cubase, when you do this, you need to have a chord track. So I made the chord track earlier, and what that does is it lets Cubase know what chord's playing where. And so when it looks at the notes, it says, okay, a harmony that'll work here is this. Okay, so let's just generate harmony number 1. So listen.
Under the wing, you're afraid to fly, afraid to sing. Under the wing, you're a pretty doll on a twisted string.
So that worked quite well, because it's only like a third up. You get away with it, you know, especially in a gang vocal like this. So let's do the same thing for the right side. What's cool is it actually preserves the panning as well, because it's basically a duplicate. But I'm going to switch it up. Why not, right? So instead of having these two both in the right channel and these two both in the left, I'm going to take this one from the right and make it to the left. So that's minus 50. And this one, I'm going to go plus 50. Now everybody is contradicting everybody, right? No two things the same are in the same tracks. But you can see they actually look very similar, the ones that have just been generated from. Now, the last thing I normally do is compare them all to the main vocal. And I can see with my playhead here, they're not all starting, oops, on grid. They're not all starting at the same point, which, you know, is probably not a bad idea, even though I've messed around with the timings. It's kind of like there's certain things you want to have happen, and one of them is that everybody hits together, basically. The end of the words tend to be a lot looser, especially if they end on an S or something. So I'm going to do them one by one. I'm just going to use the free warp tool. Okay, and then I'm going to, so that I don't warp away the second half of this. I didn't want to do that. That was the main vocal. This way, when I move the first one, the second word's not going to move as well. Okay, and then all I do is using this line here, I just adjust these so that they're all kind of starting at the same point. Right? And let's solo the lead vocal in as well.
Under the wing, you're afraid to fly.
So I could actually hear it on the second one there, on the your. They're all out of, look at them, they're all out of whack. And normally what I do, I don't always start with, you see how they look like they're fading in? I don't start with that point. I start with I actually usually do the edits on the loudest part of the note. You see how there's like a bump there at the front? So what I should have done is put the markers like that, so I can delete those. Right, I put it in the middle of that hump, as it were. Because that's where the power of the beginning of the note is starting. So I may as well line those up as opposed to the little breath or whatever it is leading up to that. So let's line that up in the middle of the lead vocal and then just shift these if they need them. It's especially on a word like your, the yeah part is different on, look at these two versions here, are completely different. And they are, one was basically a copy of the other, just a different, use a different voice, right? Like instead of this one's power and this one's solid. So just changing the voice has changed them, not only the timbre of the voice, but actually slightly the performance as well. So it's just something to notice, to know about, really. Okay, let's see how the second verse goes, second line goes.
Under the wing, you're afraid to fly, afraid to sing. Under the wing.
Okay, so now I'm going to fast forward to all of this being finished. Right, so let's check out what it sounds like with them all a little bit tighter together now.
Under the wing, you're afraid to fly, afraid to sing. Under the wing, you're a pixie doll on a twisted string.
Yeah, not bad. Let's try it with all the backing.
Under the wing, you're afraid to fly, afraid to sing. Under the wing, you're a pixie doll on a twisted string.
Okay, well, I haven't added any reverb yet to the backing vocals. Might not even need it, but probably will in the end. So that's it. Stacking vocals, big time. This is all using one voice, a Solaria voice. Other tools as well, obviously, to help out. But if I wanted to do this properly, I would use Cubase to generate the harmony, and then I would use that harmony as a guide in Synth V to create a nice fresh take, not a pitch shifted take. Because then you could use it, second voice, maybe use a different voice altogether and just keep building it that way. So with a couple of voices, you could literally build a huge, gang vocal for sure. And since that's very popular these days, why not? Okay, I hope you got some info out of this, and I'll see you soon.